Welcome to Doc Magazine. This is our 10th anniversary edition. I have my esteemed guest, Grandmaster Samuel Scott. We will be digging deep into his system, his legacy, and his martial art life. Without any further ado, I'd like to introduce my guest, and he can introduce himself.
Greetings,
Grandmaster Samuel.
Yes, sir. Greetings, brother. Definitely an honor and privilege to be here. Just a little bit about my background. Started out in martial arts when I was 14 years old. Born and raised in New York, out in Long Island, a place called Gordon Heights. And so my primary focus back then was basically self-defense. Wanted to be able to get on the school bus, get in class, get back on the school bus, get back home. And so that was the primary focus. And back then, all we really had was Taekwondo. So we trained in Taekwondo in the gentleman's basement because one, my mother couldn't afford to put me in an official class. And two, she was afraid to put me in class because I was a little on the wild side. And so that's kind of how my beginning started as it relates to martial arts. And then from there, I became a fanatic, watching the movies, the Bruce Lee movies and the Five Fingers of Death. And just kind of started my career from there.
Okay, yeah, I see that you've been training over 42 years. You're one of the most sought after master instructors in the world. I see that you started around 1976. In 1976, what was the martial arts scene like? Because I was actually born in 79. So that was that was actually 3 years before I was born. Mm-hmm. So what was that scene like?
For me, the scene, it was mostly karate. There was, you had jujitsu in the city, but out in Long Island, it was mostly karate. And until Bruce Lee came along, and then everybody wanted to wear the black uniform and do the kung fu thing. I wasn't really into the competition sport back then. I was more just strictly into self-defense. But yeah, when I actually went to San Marcos, Texas in 77, I believe. Went to San Marcos, Texas, and that's where I started studying Kung Fu under Shifu Gums. And from that point, I never went back to karate because I loved the flow of Kung Fu and the fact that you use the person's energy against himself. And so that kind of took me off into my journey as it relates to martial arts.
I see. Okay, so I didn't know that. So your system has more of a kung fu base than a karate base.
Yeah. It's more of a kung fu base. Even though we, Indonesian Silat and Kuntao, they have their hard versions. I was more interested in the soft version, the ability to absorb the person's energy, take control of the person's body through certain principles and concepts. And so once I realized that you didn't need to use force against force, I kind of fell in love with that and did a deep dive into, the science of the art per se versus just, seeing who can punch the hardest, who can kick the hardest. You know what I mean? It became a science for me to study on the weak anatomical structures of the body, how to break that body down,
Well, that makes sense because when I see your movements, it's very fluid.
Yes.
And I definitely see that Chinese influence. So it all makes sense now.
Yes,
I see you was a former correctional officer at the PG County Department of Corrections. You was an emergency response team member. 14 years experience. You were certified in repelling and tactical response training. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. In Maryland, in Prince George's County, I moved down here in the 80s from New York. And there's a correctional facility in Prince George's County. And so my goal was to stay there 5 years and open my own school. But that didn't work, got there, got comfortable. And, once you get in the government, you kind of good to go. At least that was the talk back, growing up. But I always had an entrepreneurial spirit. And so I did 14 and a half years there. And I used that time to kind of get into the mindset of the predator. You know what I mean? Because, first of all, it was 90% us in prison. right? And so that was a deep study for me. Like, how is it that we're the only ones getting locked up? What is it that's going on that we're the only ones getting locked up? And so from there, I went into a deep dive to kind of understand the mindset of the press. These guys had no problem telling me. They were convicted. They were on their way out. They had no problem telling me what they look for in their victims as it relates to women, as it relates to guys. And it was kind of interesting.
What were some of the things they look for in women and men?
Yeah, for women, it was like, someone who wasn't aware of their surroundings, had a poor posture, you know what I mean? Looked gullible, you know what I mean? Looked like they were what we call a soft target. And so that was intriguing to me because they didn't really want to fight. Their thing was they didn't want someone that would put up a fight. They just basically wanted someone that was, that'd be so struck by fear that they'd do whatever they asked them to do. And
then what about for the men? What did they look for weakness in the men?
Yeah, for the men, it's all ego. You know what I mean? Women, it's emotional, but for men, it's a whole ego thing. And so they wanted to make sure that they won't facing a warrior. You follow me? Someone who didn't have a problem engaging, And so they always look, and again, it's all the whole body language piece. If they saw someone that didn't have a good flow with their walk, eyes were, the window to the soul. So if they looked in a person's eyes and saw that they were a little, we call it soft in the street, but a little weak in spirit, then that was the person. And it was always the verbal piece to check the spirit. And so that thing was, you know what I mean? So if somebody didn't show that warrior in them, then they would attack them.
Yeah, my mother was a correctional officer at Rikers Island, 20 years. She retired from Rikers Island. Yeah, so, and I grew up in Brooklyn. So, hearing the stories and the whole thing about jail for me was, having a mother that was a CO was like, I just went when no one told me what to do. Tell me when to go to the bathroom, when to do this, when to do that. You know what I mean? Like, that was enough for me not to go through that penal institution. You know what I mean? Because it's like, I just couldn't imagine that. Just everything that I want, someone's going to tell me what to do. And I always got to ask them for permission. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. I mean, you're back into bondage, self-inflicted bondage.
Self-inflicted bondage. All right. So, okay. So now, when we get to your art, okay, so I see that you're a certified instructor in Filipino martial arts, Filipino martial arts, and then it has Kung Fu, Tai Chi, Qi Kong, China, and Kishu Jitsu. So let's start off with the Filipino martial arts. Let's get to the meat of it. How did you get into that? Let's have a conversation about that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I was doing Kung Fu. I got a black under Grandmaster Dennis Brown here in the 80s. And during that time, I was still looking for something combative. You know what I mean? It was, the Kung Fu piece was good. It was beautiful. And so I was introduced to the Filipino martial arts by, what's this gentleman? What we call him? Bone. We call him Shifu Bone, right? And he was the way to recognize it, he was the guy who imitated Eddie Murphy. He looked like Eddie Murphy, he talked like Eddie Murphy, but he's a film star, And so he came up, he approached me one day and he just said, look, he said, let me show you something, let me expose you to something. And he started doing this knife work and it kind of blew me away. And I noticed he wasn't, we spent so much time in proper stances, proper movement, and he was just flowing. And so he said, here, you do it. And so I'm trying to be perfect by stepping and doing the moves. He said, no, just relax, just let it flow. And he's having a conversation with me. And he said, just talk while you're doing it. And that intrigued me because I said, that's more natural for me to be able to just respond off a person's action, in a free-flowing way and not a structured way, because fighting isn't structured. You know what I mean? And so I took an instant liking to.
Hey, Grandmaster, let me pause you there. So you said fighting isn't structured. So what is your philosophy of fighting? How do you define fighting? What is fighting?
Yeah, well, fighting, of course, is two people engaged in a physical altercation, right? And so it's not a structured fight. Engagement. It's not where you go up and you say, okay, you ready? all right, you throw that punch, I'm coming with this punch, or you shove me here, or you punch me when I say punch. It's not structured like that. You know what I mean? Fighting starts here. Before you even engage a person physically, the fight's already happening. And so your perpetrator is already sitting back and looking and saying, well, I'm going to angle off this way. I'm going to sucker punch him. Then I'm going to take him down, or I'm going to, distract him and then grab his legs and slam him. All that's running in his head. And so if you don't stop it there, then you got to go to the physical piece. And so my whole
you're talking about his intent.
His intent, absolutely, absolutely. So we have techniques where we shut down the intent, but we always try to do it verbally first. By de-escalating the situation, giving them the opportunity to counter, but at the same time, feeding him energy to say, brother, if you swing at me, I'm going to dismantle you, without saying it. You follow me? And so the eyes are telling that story, your posture is telling that story, your positioning is telling that story, and your distancing is telling that story. You follow me?
Yeah.
So from there, it's whether they're going to take the dive, they're going to take the leap, they're going to take the chance, or they're going to back out and say, "Oh man, F you, you ain't this, you ain't that." That's their out. So give them that out, because at the end of the day, brother, we don't want to use our nuclear arsenal. You know what I mean? And that's, to me, that's what our martial arts skill set is. It's a nuclear arsenal because it's a honed, fine skill where you learn how to dismantle the anatomical structure of the body. You know what I mean? And you also learn how to break down them psychologically. So if we could win, like Sun Tzu say, if we could win this fight without fighting, then that's the ultimate win.
Grandmaster, give me one or two techniques or strategies on how you can disarm someone verbally without using physical force.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. First and foremost, brother, you have to accept the fact that you're in an altercation. That's the first thing. Accept the fact that you're in an altercation. Be in deadly control of your emotions. Deadly control of your emotions. Meaning you can't let a person trigger you. Because, brother, listen. Here's what's missing in martial arts training. The law and martial arts as it relates to you using your martial arts, right? If you haul off and you just chop someone in the neck, or you do your nice spinning back kick, or you pick him up and throw him, do your nice judo moves, and that, God forbid, he dies, or even if you maim him, you're going to be charged. Because we can't use excessive force above what they're using. We have to use equal or less. You follow me? And so the very first thing you want to do is meet him where he's at, accept the fact that this person is irate, disrespectful, because he doesn't know you. So there's no need to let anything attach to you. De-escalate. Brother, look, I'm sorry, I didn't see you in your car. Let's wait for the police to get here. Or I agree with you. Use agreeing verbiage. I agree with you, brother. You're right. That was my fault. You step on his toe, brother. I'm sorry. It's crowded in here. I didn't realize I was stepping your toe. Let me buy you a drink. You always downplay. He doesn't need to know. He doesn't need to know that you can stop his breathing in a second or two. He doesn't need to know all that. Let's just bring this thing down. So de-escalation is key. But at the same time, brother, keeping your distance and having that presence of, look, you just don't want to do that. Okay,
so what about on the opposite side of that spectrum? As you know, I grew up in the hip hop generation. One of rapper was murdered a couple of years ago. I don't know if you heard a rapper named Nipsey Hussle.
Yeah,
he was in his neighborhood. There was a gentleman approached him. He basically said, "Hey, I don't want no dealings with you because I heard you was a snitch." That triggered him. Using your language, that triggered him. He went back to the car, came back with a firearm, murdered him. Now, when the situation goes like that, so it's at the point where you can't use the verbal. It's now, he did that, he got the gun. Grandmaster, what do you do now? Situation like that.
Okay, two things, brother. One, if he attempted to de-escalate and the brother ran back to his car, we know from the streets to get the hell out of there. Sorry for the language.
Yeah.
But get out of there.
Okay.
Live to fight another day, right?
But you know, a lot of times the ego make you not want to run because you be like, I'm not a punk. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. But see, that's where our discipline come in. And see, that's the work that we have to do as martial artists. See, people think that it's the work is getting in here and you know, working our speed and working our targeting and working. No, the work is here. The work is here because if we can get this piece down, then we won't have to get into altercation. If we do get into altercation, then we're justified in what we're doing, right? And so Nipsey's situation, the minute that brother turned to go to his car, he should have been out. He should have been 2 blocks down the street. 1. 2, if he couldn't be 2 blocks down the street and he was in fear of his life, I'll say that again, because anyone who does use martial arts on the street, the first thing they better say when they go there, they were in fear of their life. Now, he should have, if he was running to the car to go get something, he should have then ran up and held him or did whatever he had to do. But even with that, you have a serious situation in court because the first thing they're gonna say, well, why did you run towards him if he was running away from you? See, it's a real touchy situation. And we don't think about this because, you know, we grew up in this. Yeah, we grew up in the street. Somebody swing at you, swing back. Somebody says something out the way to you, you pick them up and slam them. We never even thought about this kind of stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Okay, so let's go deep into the Filipino. Now, I know in Filipino, martial, they have the Panantukan. What can you tell us about the Panantukan and how much of the Panantukan is built into your art? Yeah.
Panantukan is one of my babies. You know, I love it because it's boxing on steroids. I call it the sweet science for the street when things go bad. You know, boxing has basically 2 weapons, right? Left hand, right hand. Filipino boxing, Panantukan has 15, 16 weapons. Elbows, knees, headbutts, shoulders, hips, shins, thumbs, toes, everything's a weapon. And so, and the main thing I like about it is that it's a free flow. So you have structure in the beginning because you have to teach them, you know, how to do the certain moves, the parries, the slips and counters and all that. But after a while, it becomes just a free flow where it becomes a echo. So you have sound, which is the person attacking you, and then you have echo. So you can't say you know what you're gonna do to a person. That's why I don't really have any katas in my system per se, but there's nothing wrong with katas because, you know, katas help people sharpen up their skill set. But I know the mind and I understand how conditioning can trigger the body. You follow what I'm saying? And the body will react in that kata mode if you keep pressing it, you know, in your subconscious. And so my focus in Filipino boxing is to get people to one, learn how to box first. You got to have the basis of boxing. That's kind of a little challenge. You look at some people do Filipino boxing, you can tell they don't have a real boxing background, right?
Right.
You got to have that background because you got to know how to use your shoulder to defend. You got to know how to roll. You got to know how to slip. You got to know how to stay close and counter. So having a basic boxing background is mandatory in my Kuntao program. And so in the Filipino boxing, from there, we go into learning how to do what we call defang the snake, which is structured pivot point. I mean, not pivot point manipulation, but gunting, we call it, where you're destroying the nerves in the arms so they can't use their arms. And then you follow up to either primary or secondary target. And there's kicking. There's kicking involved. Yeah. And so the other part I want to mention about Panantukan is it's not just striking. In Panantukan, you have the Dumog piece, you have the grappling piece in there. You have kicking. All that's included in the Filipino arts. Now, I include nerve striking, even though gunting itself is nerve striking, but it's just nerve striking limited to the limbs. We use nerve striking all throughout the entire body in the Panantukan. So And I have a certification program where I'm actually training people now in Panantukan because people like that versus coming to a structured class and spending time learning how to give courtesy and wear a uniform and bowing on off the floor. They just want to learn an art that they can use right away because look at the times we're in.
We're in some savage beasts. We're like in 2000 BC. We're in the cave. We're back in the caves. We're back in the caves.
Come on, man. Come on. It's madness out there. Listen, madness. Anyone today who's not studying self-defense is disconnected. Is disconnected from reality.
Yeah, because like you said, you have the goons on the street that's against you, and then you have the laws in the courts that's against you.
Right. And then you have this whole racial tension thing going on that's festering more and more now. So you don't know when you're going to be attacked from where.
Right. So you talked about the go ahead, sir. You two growing up? Yes.
No. I'm just going to say that when you're in an environment like that, brother, where you don't know where you're going to be attacked or what Eric what I'm looking for. When you don't know from what reference you're going to be attacked from, meaning if it's going to be a racial attack when you're out on a trip with your family, or it's going to be a random attack or somebody that comes up and robs you. You see, growing up, all we had to worry about was the random.
Right.
See? Now you got this whole racial thing going on, and the tension is so high now. These guys are being emboldened, where now it's like, hey, I'm gonna get out here and call you the N-word. I'm gonna shove you. I'm gonna beat your woman down. So right. It's a whole different world right now.
And talking about disabling verbally, I just remember with that Ahmed case, Arbery case, when those gunmen were chasing him with the guns. Based on what you're teaching me, my takeaway would be he should have maybe stopped running. Would that have been the advice?
Yeah.
And would have just had rather to have a conversation and say, hey, what's going? Would that have been the better? Let you explain that.
Yes, sir, brother. You're right on it. Absolutely. Because number one, look at the environment, right? Look at the environment and then look at the situational piece of it. The environment is you're in a white neighborhood. Situational pieces, you got two angry racists in your face with a gun. Freeze. Just freeze.
A 12-gauge shotgun.
12-gauge shotgun. That's right. I like the fact that you've been specific because 12-gauge shotgun will blow a hole in your back.
They said the first shot was in the chest. The second shot was in the chest. They said the third shot was in the wrist, but they leave off the fact that it blew his hand off.
It blew his hand off. Yeah, they don't want to put that part out there.
Right, they don't put that, but they just say the wrist.
Yeah, they said the wrist. We already know how vicious they are, right? History is clear. History is clear. So they trying to dampen that. They don't want you to know how vicious these guys were because, of course, they were trying to get them off. But anyway, and as it relates to the de-escalation piece, all he had to go with at that moment was submit. So
Grandmaster, so what it sounds like you're telling us is that in your art, you teach the intelligent mind. The intelligent mind.
You have to, brother. In 2022.
Not the emotional mind, but the intelligent mind.
The intelligent mind. Yes. The spiritual mind. Because if you don't, today, if you're not using your intelligent mind, you're going to find yourself in jail. It's just as simple as that. But I know people are always going to say, man, look, if they come, I'm going to kill them. Okay, you do what you're going to do. But I'm just telling you how I train law enforcement, brother. I spent 3 years over in Dubai training the largest police department in the world. Wow. I trained the special force team in Panama. I trained the escort team. I trained the special forces in Abu Dhabi. I know what happens when you don't follow the system. We have a responsibility is all I'm saying. See, when you learn this type of knowledge, you gain this type of knowledge, you have a responsibility. If you're an instructor, that's a whole different level of responsibility, because now you have to make sure everyone you teach, or at least hope that everyone you teach understands the liability that goes with this thing. And so that's why I'm against, and nothing against people, I'm gonna get pushback on this, but it's okay. I'm against people just randomly showing knife technique, just on TV showing people how to use a knife and all this kind of stuff. Because to me, we have to respect what we have. You understand what I'm saying? When we cheapen ourselves by just drawing, oh look, let me show you this specialized skill on YouTube. Let me show you that you may think you're impressing someone, but what you're doing is you're cheapening yourself, right? You'll never see knife disarm or knife use techniques on YouTube. Go search my YouTube page. You won't see any knife. You may catch me doing a demonstration real quick that's so fast that you can't really see it per se, but never instruction, because we have a responsibility for ourselves and a responsibility for the people that we teach.
I understand. Grandmaster, you talk about kicking. Now, when I was putting together the notes, the language they had was Sikiran. I guess they're saying Sikiran means kicking. My question is, there's always been a debate that low kicks are better than high kicks. What's your philosophy on kicking? What emphasis do you put on kicking? Talk to us about that.
Yeah, brother, that's a great question. And the reason why I say it's a great question, because in the Filipino art, you probably know there's not a lot of kicking. They don't do a lot of kicking. That's why I appreciate my Kung Fu background, because we spent a lot of time on kicking. We just spent a lot of time on kicking that was for show. Mm-hmm. And so I had to go back now and say, okay, what kicking concept should I use for the street? Strictly waist down. All nerve kicks attacking the nerves in the legs. Mm-hmm. Not only that, kicking to disrupt the structure of the legs, the limbs, where you're attacking the ankle or you're attacking the knee joint in certain angles to shatter the ankle or just dislocate the ankle so they can't move. That's the wheels. Without the ankle, they can't attack you. They can't come to you. And so our focus is everything from the waist down, even attacking the hip bone. Yeah. Attacking the hip bone on down to the thigh, inside, outside the thigh, the knee directly, inside, outside the knee, the shins, and then the toes. People slip on the fact that a stomp could end the fight.
A lot of times I watch a lot of those international cage fights. And I notice when the boxers go against the Muay Thai guys, once they start taking out their legs, it's over.
They're done.
They're done. They have no answer to it.
No answer whatsoever. And I'll tell you what, man, those kicks are chopping. We call them chopping kicks. Where you chop into that muscle and hit that nerve. You do that a couple of times. You see them. They can't stand on their. They
can't. Fight is over. Yeah. So another thing is the Kino Muay Thai, biting and pinching. Is that implemented in your art? Biting and pinching.
Again?
The Kino Muay Thai, biting and pinching. They say that means biting and pinching.
Oh, you talking about the art of biting and pinching?
Yeah. Is that?
Yeah, we do the pinching, but the pinching for our system comes from the China. Okay. Yeah, China means seize and control, and so we do pinching from that reference.
Now, pressure points.
I don't teach the biting part,
Oh, okay. Now, the pressure points. How do you utilize pressure points in your art? Do you use pressure points as a means to do a setup, to set them up for something else, or do you use it as a means to an end?
Yeah. So we have a separate program for pressure points. We call it, it's in Western medicine, it's called pressure points. In Eastern medicine, it's called energy manipulation or meridian striking. Mm-hmm. You follow me? In China, they call it cavity press. Yeah. And so what we're doing in essence is we're affecting the energetic structure of the body, meaning the nervous system of the body, or the energy of the body, I should say. And so
Yeah.
that's taught in my system, that's taught in black belt, because I'm always watching my students. There's some students that will get the black belt and, great, you're off and running. And there's others that I bring into my inner circle where I teach them the energy manipulation. Now, in the regular Kuntao, they do the gunting and nerve strikes, but they're not told the energy points and all that. They're not told that. We just tell them strike here, do this, do that. When they get in black belt, we break that thing all the way down and we show them how the body is made up of positive, negative energy, how those meridian points run from your tip of your fingers all the way up your body, from top of your head all the way down through your feet, and how to access and interrupt the energy system of the body.
Now, and at that black belt level, when you utilize the pressure points, are you utilizing it to interrupt, or are you utilizing it as a setup because you know what that is going to do to the body to give you something else?
Yes, good question. Good question. You could use it for a number of things, right? You can use it to shut down the altercation altogether, right? Or you can use it to do a follow-up technique. But for me, or you can use it as a release. That's the word I was looking for. You could use it as just a quick release. Someone goes to grab you or bear hug you or whatever, you can use it as a quick release. Even in a grappling situation, you can use it to get a person off of you. So yeah, two-handed choke, you can use it, attacking the intercostal nerves in the ribs. There's all different ways you can use it. Setup, once you activate the nerve is activated. So the only thing you're doing after that is either going to let that take them out, or you're going to just do a follow-up just to take them all the way out. So it really just depends. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
It just depends.
Now, I also see that you have the Kiyu Shojitsu. Am I saying that right? Kiyu Sho?
Yeah, that's what I was discussing.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the name for the meridian strike in the art.
And you use the grappling. Now, do you use more of the grappling from the Kisho, or do you use more grappling from Dumag, or do you use both? Do you mix them?
Yeah. We use a combination. Here's the thing. You have 5 ranges of combat, right? First one's weapon. Second one's kicking. Third one's punching. Fourth one, elbow and knees. And then the fifth one is grappling. Right. And so my Combat Kuntao system is tailored around all those ranges of combat. And so when we got to the grappling piece, you have grappling, which is where you're in the mix with someone, taking them down, but then you also have ground fighting. And it's different, right? Ground fighting is when you slip on the floor, you're on the ground. Now you're learning how to use your kicking skill set from the ground, right? To either attack nerves in his legs or do a leg press technique to take them down. Grappling is when someone takes you down, they grab you by your legs, they throw you down, or they grab you by your waist, they throw you down, and you two are like almost hugging. So that's we use Dumag in that respect. We also use Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. So one of my certifications is in Gracie ground tactics, because they took 36 techniques.
The 36 combatives.
Yeah, and they took those 36 techniques and they said, well, these are some of our best techniques for the street.
Right.
And so I took that course, but I took it from the law enforcement side, just to be clear. I took the law enforcement tactics because I was teaching law enforcement, wanted to add it to my repertoire. But between Dumag, ground fighting, and then the grappling piece from the jiu-jitsu, that makes up my grappling component. And we do what we call street grappling. We don't do competition grappling, because competition grappling, everybody has 1,000 moves, right? Right. And you don't need 1,000 moves. That's why on my picture I said less is better. On the street, all you need is just some primary techniques for the street. You don't need 1,000 different. You're not going to be positioning and rolling and see who's going to get this position and arm bars and all that kind of stuff. And so what we do is we address a couple of different references. One, keep a person from taking us down.
Right.
So they go for our legs. We have certain moves we do to stop them from taking us down. If they take us down, second phase, keep them from striking us. So we have certain techniques we do to keep them from striking us, holding them close. Third thing we do is called turn the tables. So we get them off. We do a reversal to get them off us, right? And then the last thing, we close it out. Close it out could be anything. If it's a law enforcement officer, it could be handcuffs. If it's just a fight, then you just, you know, put them in a control hold or whatever. If it's a rape scenario or a person has a knife, termination.
You know, speaking of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, a couple of years ago, I think like last 10, 15 years, I mean, BJJ was dominating UFC, but as of like the last 4 to 5 years, they've been having some problems. Matter of fact, if you look at I don't know if this year, but I know last year or the beginning of this year, the top 3 heavyweights were all black. The heavyweight, the middleweight, and the lightweight were all black, and they all were strikers, but they picked up basic BJJ movements. They picked up enough BJJ movements to get off the ground and get back to the fight. But it's just interesting that the top 3 champions, you know, as of early this year, they were all black, they were all strikers, but they did pick up basic movements in BJJ, and just with those basics, they was able to dominate.
Yeah, yeah. I think it was Bruce Lee that said, you know, back in the early days, any art that doesn't have a grappling component is an incomplete art. You know, and I've always believed that you got to have it, because you can't arrogantly say that you're never going to be on the ground. You can't say that. You know what I mean? Nothing against people who don't do grappling, of course, but it's a what if situation, right? What if you throw a kick and you slip? What if you throw a punch and, you know, you slip on the ground? You know, what are you going to result to curling up?
Right.
No, you got to result to the principles that you know standing. The principles are the same: clearing your body, controlling the person, reversing the person.
Because most fights is going to go to that clinch anyway, and when it goes to that clinch, they're going to try to throw you on the ground. That's always the classic thing.
That's the classic thing, and the reason being on the street is because they're fearful. Most people, we know most people don't know how to fight. Right. You go to YouTube, everybody's, you know, winging for 15 seconds, and they winded. Right. So grabbing is kind of a safety mechanism for some folks, you know, and then they get on the ground and then they just swinging, and you know, there's no surgical movements when they do this. They just grab and you, take you down. So your goal is to use your striking to keep it from doing that. And that's why in the UFC, you see the strikers now dominating, because what? You can't get to grappling range until you get through the other ranges.
Right.
You follow me? So I'm not going to sit there and lay on the ground, put my feet up and say, come on, down here. No. You got to get past my surgical kicking. If you get past that, you got to get past the surgical striking. You get past that, you got to get past the elbows and knees. Now, if you get past that, then we're going to grapple.
And so hence the name Full Circle Family. Full Circle.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Got it. Okay, so he was regional representative for the Kyoshi International, world leader in pressure point training. He was an edge weapon instructor, nationally ranked fighter, over 300 matches. Wow. 1992 gold medal winner in the International Police Olympics. 1992 creator founder of the Talib Kuntao, aka Street Combat Self-Defense, a scientific system of personal protection. 1992 founder of Full Circle Martial Arts Academy and Combat Kuntao Self-Defense Program, regional representative of the Amuguru Rafi Pambon, 5th generation head of the Pambon Arnis family system. Wow. It's like you went to Harvard, you got like the Harvard education of martial science. I mean, which one of these things do you want to talk about? I mean, they all heavy.
Yeah, brother, you know, and I know you know this because you're a martial artist. When you love what you do, you just do the work. You know what I mean? You train. Like when I go places to do a training or a workshop, and they do my introduction, sometimes I'm wondering like who they talking about. Because I'm just so busy discovering. Like
Right.
I'm a career student. And before I get into the take that, I want to make sure the audience understands the titles are the titles, right? It's like the military. You go in the military, you earn your rank, you're a sergeant. You're the sergeant major, you're that.
Right.
Same thing, you get your doctorate degree, you're a doctor, right? In martial arts, you do the work, you get your black belt. You continue to do the work, you get your masters. You continue to do the work and you produce other masters, you become a grandmaster, right? But there's a word that has to be tied to each one of those ranks, and that word is student. So you become a black belt student, you become a master student, you become a grandmaster student. See, when you give yourself that kind of self-talk, then you're always going to be studying, finding, and refining your art. Always, right? And you're gonna learn from anybody. You don't look at the stripes, you don't look at the title. If somebody has something that looks good that could be implemented, you accept it. Like Bruce Lee said, your art is your art.
Right.
My art is my art. Once you teach me, your art is my art, and your art is my art. You see?
You know, Grandmaster, when I met you, like I said, I saw your work years ago, and I said, wow, like you've always been in the back of my mind, like someone I had to interview. And when we finally reached out, I know your title was Master Scott, but I just felt like that was disrespectful. Like for me, I immediately said Grandmaster. Like I just couldn't even, you know what I mean? Like I just couldn't. And see, like to me, okay, let me tell you how I'm thinking in terms of the difference between a Grandmaster and a Master.
Yes, sir.
All right, so like my mother, right? She's like in her 70s now, right? So when my mother goes to the doctor, I always tell my mother, always look for a board certified doctor, right?
Yes, sir.
So let's say, for instance, if she has to go to a heart doctor or a dermatologist, whatever it is.
Yes, sir.
Just because they're cardiologists, I would go, like what I would do, like I get the doctor's name, I'll Google it, I'll go on the website, and then I'll see if they're board certified. Because you'll be surprised. There's a lot of cardiologists out here that are not board certified. But they are still able to practice. And what I found out is that you do not have to be board certified to open a practice.
Wow.
Yeah. And so in every single practice, whether it's neurology, cardiology, pulmonology, you have board certified pulmonologists and you have pulmonologists that are not board certified. And a lot of people don't know that. They just, all they know is they hear the name cardiologist, but they don't go to the next level to see, are they board certified?
Wow.
And so for me, a grandmaster is board certified. A master is not board certified.
Yes, sir.
Yes, it doesn't mean that and similarly, just because a cardiologist is not board certified, it doesn't mean that he's not good.
Yes.
But the fact that he is board certified, it says that he has gone through the rigor, the assessments.
Right. Yes.
Because the way that you measure instruction is by the assessment.
Yes, sir.
What do you think about that, sir?
Oh no, I love it. Matter of fact, I'm going to borrow that, teacher. Thank you for sharing that with me. And that's good information, brother. That's something that needs to get out in our community because, you know, we just look at the white coat and we just think everybody's certified.
Yeah, board certified.
Yeah, board certified. You know what I mean? Because the person got the white coat on, they got the name on the plaque.
Right.
You know, we don't do our due diligence like that. And so that needs, but I like your analogy as it relates to, you know, the levels of ranking master and grandmaster. And I'll share this with you. My students get on me all the time about my belts because I just grab whatever belt I have. Sometimes it's 6-degree belts because I forget, okay, I just created some masters here. So now I gotta start using the GM title. But Master Scott is kind of like the brand that's out there. You know what I mean? For the non-martial artists. And so you'll still see me sometimes, just so you know, you'll still see me sometimes saying, hey, this is Master Scott. Next thing I want to do, blah, 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 because they're the uninitiated. And so they don't even know. So their master means, oh, he's really good in martial arts. And for the religious world, masters is offensive. And so there you have it. But to become a grandmaster here at Full Circle, you have to raise a master. And that's been our protocol. I've done my best, brother, to preserve the integrity of martial arts, what it means, what it stands for. And so, and that standard is for me as well. So I can't become a grandmaster title, even though I received my grandmasters before I created the master, but I didn't wear the belt and I didn't carry the title when here. My instructor was down in Orlando. So the minute I created the first master, then I started wearing the belt, because again, we have to lead by example, and we want the students to see that at the end of the day, it's not really about rank, but it is about achievement.
Right.
Definitely about achievement, right?
Right.
But have standards for that achievement. Don't just, somebody gives you a rank or call you up and say, I look what you're doing. That's why I don't really do a lot of award ceremonies and stuff like that. No offense. You get the award for being recognized for what you do, great. But I don't see how you're gonna recognize me year after year after year after year after year after year after year. Then it becomes like, okay, this is a business. You follow me?
Right.
And so I want to preserve that piece where, one, you earn your rank here from white belt. And we tell students out the gate, parents out the gate, we don't sell belts here. And we're pushing 30 years, and that philosophy worked. So we didn't have to compromise. We didn't have to sell out. We didn't have to get I don't know what you call those little lighted, I don't even watch that stuff, but the lighted thing where they got the kids in it playing with anything to keep the kids excited. No, our community have deeper challenges, and we don't have time to be sitting there playing little silly games with them. We got to get in our children's head. And so when you follow that ranking structure, your students have a better appreciation for you. You follow me? So
Grandmaster, and so from what I'm hearing from you is, when it comes to being a master, you have, I guess there's like two paradigms. There's ability and there's achievement. But you can't just have ability, you also have the achievement. And so would you say the achievement that's needed to be a grandmaster is to raise up a master?
Yes, sir.
But then but then if someone comes back and say, hey man, I'm nice, look at my skills, I can boom, 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 boom. So that's my ability. My ability is off the hook. But I don't have the achievement of raising a master. What do you say to that argument?
And here's the thing, brother, everybody has their own standards. And I allow people to just live out their model of reality. So if that's how they do it, that's fine. But for me, I'm not going to produce. Listen, I have students in here that are national champions, like they're international champions. I'm sorry, international champions.
Yeah.
But they can't convey the message to students. They can't convey the lessons to the students.
And let me just talk about, you see, and the fact that you can convey the message to a person, raise them up as a master, see, that's what makes you board certified.
Thank you. And I like your analogy, because at the end of the day, I just want people here to be true to the art, right?
Right.
Earn it, respect it, and then pass it on. Study, practice, and teach. Pass it on, raise someone up. See, when you bring up a person to a master level,
right,
you move yourself from master to grandmaster. You see? Because a master is a teacher's teacher. That's what master means. Master means you're a teacher of teachers. Grandmaster means you're a teacher's teacher.
But let me ask you this question. In order to raise up the master, though, you would have to depart knowledge and give up knowledge. What about grandmasters who don't like to give up the knowledge? They just want to hog all the knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah, brother. That's a show in and of itself, right? Because when you have instructors like that, there's a quirk where they have this need of it for attention, need to be recognized, right? Need to be seen as the almighty. And that's why you have students that are in different schools that can't go to other people's seminars. They can't participate in certain events. They can't train with other instructors because you have that personality that has internal issues, right? And it's just a self-esteem issue at the end of the day. It's an issue with his self-concept. And it's unfortunate because that student now grows and he has what we call a lid. And he's never going to get past that lid because the instructor isn't teaching him how to fish. He's taking them fishing every single day. And so all that student knows is, okay, I got to come in and learn technique 50, technique 175, technique 200. They're not getting the philosophical piece. They're not learning the character piece. They're not learning the emotional, intelligent piece. None of that. They're just coming in and they're mocking their instructor. And so it's unfortunate, but it's happening, and they're going to always have followers. That's the one thing I want your audience to understand. It doesn't make any sense for us to talk about them. First of all, you waste energy, and you when you talk about someone else, you diminish yourself, right? Because they're going to show the people that are coming to their school their version of martial arts, and that those people are going to accept that because they have nothing to look at. You follow me? Now, if they walk into another school and they see that there's a philosophy there, they see that there's a family culture there, they see that there's order there, then they're going to say, wait a minute. I thought, we were supposed to get punched in the face in class. I thought, we're supposed to get yelled at in front of our colleagues. Over here, there's a whole different philosophy here. And so we have to just let them be, because it's unfortunate, because every once in a while I say to myself, wow, I mean, like, as a community leader, aren't I supposed to say something? Aren't I supposed to say, look, on social media, guys, listen, no, stay away from that. No, but at the end of the day, you just have to let it be, because there's someone here for everybody. And that's just the way it is. Go on YouTube, man. You see people going to these guys to do what? They move their hand, and all of a sudden they fall.
Right. Or they do this and they fall down.
Yeah. And this guy has students. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna
say? Until a blue belt from BJJ come in and mop them all up.
Come on, man. Mop them up and down the floor.
Over the floor, yeah. So Grandmaster, so out of those credentials that I just read, the one that I want to zoom in on, regional representative of the Ama Guru Rafi Pambon, 5th generation head of the Pambon Arnis family system. Who is that family? Who is Rafi Pambon?
Ama Guru Rafi is a fifth generation inheritor of his family system out of the Philippines. He's based out of Orlando. I met him about 20 years ago at the World Head Soldiership Council in Orlando, and we became friends, instantly. He was introduced. I was introduced to him through late Grandmaster Bo Sayat of the head of the Sayat family, and we became very close from that point. I eventually became his representative because he had such an amazing skill set, but didn't have the ability to get it out for people to see and engage in. So I became his representative. Plus, we were doing a lot of law enforcement training back then, and so I was kind of his point of contact.
What is his lineage? What is his martial science lineage? Where is he?
Yeah, strictly from his father. Yeah, he's the 5th generation of his family system, Pambon Arnis, and he has the whole gamut: the stick, knife, Dumog. He runs the whole gamut, the stick fighting, all of it. Yeah, so he has a complete system. They do what you call Lagomana, which is long range fighting. He has empty hand. It's a complete art.
Grandmaster, I'm going to go to YouTube. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to show some of your clips so the audience can see practical applications of your art.
Okay.
Let me do this. All right, let me take this mic out. All right. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. So I'm going to, do you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Hmm. Oh, that's a whole clip there, brother. Hmm.
What concepts were you, you know, deconstruct your own movement? What were you trying to,
Yeah. Yeah. So we had two scenarios there. That's an old clip too, by the way.
Mhm.
So if the folks expect me to move like that now, tell them I'm giving you a heads up. That was 15 years ago. But anyway, yeah. So on the in terms of the single defense, I think we had the person swinging at me in the looping technique. If you notice, instead of trying to stop the attack, I kind of rode the attack into a neck crank. I think it might be this. Well, no, that one was that one I actually stopped him. Yeah, I stopped him with an elbow jam.
Man, that's why I like that.
That's the one.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Mm.
And so that one, of course.
Well, let's go back. Let's go back. So this one here,
okay.
this was this one. Yeah, that was smooth.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on. Yeah, you can talk on that.
Yes. Okay. So what happened there? I fanned him in the eyes, and then I stepped around while swinging his arm into a nice choke, naked choke.
Let me ask you, Grandmaster. I always hear that. If you take the eyes out, that sets it up for something else.
Yeah.
But in reality, I mean, when you really take someone's eyes out and when the adrenaline is going, does that really deflect the situation, or do people still, have enough of their consciousness to stay focused?
Brother, listen. Have you ever accidentally poked yourself in the eye, like washing your face or doing some kind of?
Yeah.
How long, on average, did it take for you to get your bearings
5
back?
to 10 minutes.
5 to 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Our techniques, a lot of our techniques, not just me, but most martial artists that understand reality combat, a second or two. You know what I mean? And so when you fan the eyes, even if you miss and a fingertip touches the eyes, that's enough to distract them from their intent. Again, what are we trying to do? We're trying to destroy their intent.
Right.
Because they got it locked in the mind to do what? Jab, hook, haymaker, or haymaker, grab your legs. That's already programmed. So when you go out through those eyes and you rake him slightly, you throw the whole program off. You see?
See, I like that because you're right. I actually thought about that. That's right. It does take about 5 to 10 minutes, and you could do a lot of damage in a couple of seconds.
Seconds.
Right.
So
that's
right. Why the eye strike is always primary in our system. Now we don't do the poking the eyeball 3-inch stuff like that. It's basically.
Is it the scraping with the nails?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. Exactly.
Grandmaster, here's another clip. I want you to take a look.
Another old one here. Yeah. So I was talking about someone who comes at you and throws, real punches at you, jab, wild hook. So there, instead of running away from them, I went into him.
I'm gonna mute it. I'm muting it. I'm gonna let you narrate your technique. You can go ahead, continue.
Sure. Okay. So what happens here? First, I have him throw a jab and haymaker to show the speed of it. Now, I stepped in. I cut the bicep to shut the arm down. At the same time, I hit him with a horizontal elbow on his chin, the mandible. Now I have him in the arm bar, which a lot of people don't see. That's why you see me turn my body like this while I'm standing up, is because I'm showing them how I can pop the elbow.
Right.
And then I put him and do what we call a puda with the head, where I spin the head into an arm lock. So see right here, watch when I turn.
Yeah. Yeah, this is nasty, man.
You see?
Yeah. I see that.
Yeah, so all that, there's a lot of collateral damage that take place in the system that people don't see until we kind of slow it down and break it down. See?
You see right there, that's the knockout right there. That's the money shot.
That's the knockout. That's the knockout.
But all that other stuff you did is just in case it didn't knock him out.
Exactly. Exactly.
I get it.
Now, I want you to look at this. When I step in and I shut that down, I'm hitting him at a primary target on his chin. That's called the button in boxing. That's called the knockout button.
Right.
So that alone will send a shockwave back to his cerebellum and throw him off balance, right?
Now, one thing that I thought you did, maybe I saw something different, but I thought you jammed him there. That was, and I saw the money shot on the chin, but there was a strike you did. I thought you did a strike to the artery on the neck. Maybe you didn't do the strike.
Yeah, but that was in the process of grabbing the head.
Right, because I would have knocked him out too.
No question. No question.
Yeah.
In fact, that's one of my go-to techniques.
Right.
No,
this is a very nasty, this is a very deadly movement right here. Yeah, I like it.
Brother.
All right, let me go to another one.
Combat China.
Oh, let me mute this. Oh, do you want it? Okay. Hold on.
That's good. I can narrate while you.
Okay, let me mute it then. All right, I'm gonna come back and you narrate. All right, 1, 2.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead. All right.
Yes, but this is China art, which is art being seized and controlled. A lot of times, you see people doing China from wrist grabs and stuff. So I wanted to show them how China could be used in a combative situation where a person actually throwing strikes at you. And so this is kind of unique to China because you don't really see people doing China like this. They doing it from grabs.
Right.
And so that's
now I do know that China predates jiu-jitsu. I know jiu-jitsu comes from China. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So a lot of different arts use anything that involves joint manipulation is what we call China. And so you don't see a lot of people use China from people throwing right hands at you, haymakers, and so you have different components of China, right? You have dividing the bone, separating the muscle, sealing the breath, sealing the vein, and cavity press. And so you also have leg China, arm China, neck China, wrist China, elbow China. So it's all there. So when you're in a fighting situation like this, where a person's throwing all these techniques at you, you can go from either isolating the limb or controlling the neck or controlling the shoulder joints.
Now, I have a question. Now, like you have him in this wrist lock. Now, in this wrist lock, sometimes I hear people say, well, if you put someone in a wrist lock, all you're going to do is anger them and make the situation more violent. Some people say, well, it's almost impossible to get a lock off in a real fight. What is your response to the first one, that it's just going to only anger them, and the other part that it's impossible to pull it off?
Yeah. Well, it all depends what you're using it for. Like if you're using it for a compliance situation, let's say you just want to move a person from point A to point B, and then get as angry as they want. It's irrelevant. The bottom line is your objective is to get them from point A to point B. You follow me? I'm an executive protection specialist, for example. And if I ask a person, to clear out the way or so on and so forth, if they don't want to move, then I'm gonna pinch a nerve to get that joint to release, and then I'm gonna lock it up and I'm gonna move them, right?
Right.
Now, as it relates to them saying that it doesn't work, well, the reality is it doesn't work if you don't know how to work it, right?
Mhm.
You have to understand that there's a connection with the physical and mental, right? The physical controls the mental. So if you don't address the physical, even in gun disarm, if you don't control the mental, yeah, it's gonna be difficult to control the physical.
Mhm.
But if I stun you first, and then I put the wrist lock on you, your attention moves away from the adrenaline that's flowing in your arms. You follow me?
Mhm.
And so now that joint is I can manipulate that joint because now your attention's not on that joint anymore. So that's why I noticed Grandmaster Soki uses a lot of shock techniques. That's what we call stun techniques. Stun the person, then go to the joint lock. Don't just try to grab somebody's arm and try to lock it, because what happens, brother? If you grab somebody's arm, you try to lock it, they're gonna punch you with the other hand.
Right. Right. Because what you're doing, and the natural reflex is get off of me.
Exactly. Get off of me. Get
Right.
off of me. Well, if you shock them in the eye, you shock them
That's
to the
the
neck.
setup. Yeah, you set them up for something
Setup.
else. Yeah.
There you go.
All right. So let me see what else we have. We have so now. All right. I'm gonna play this. I'm gonna let you narrate.
Yeah. Let me just say this was an honor, brother. My first time demonstrating for the minister,
Mhm.
and this was a true honor.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Yeah. Right here, I'm just using pivot points. I use the knee pivot point off the jab cross. Notice everything is off their energy.
Man, let me play this back. Look at this one. Look at this. Watch this. Man,
Yes, sir.
Man.
Yes, sir.
Hold up, break that down. Like what tell us about that. Break that down.
So what I'm doing, I'm trying to show the audience how we defend against someone who's fighting like we fight here in the US. Follow me?
Right.
Versus stepping and punching. So I'm showing them that, this person's trying to take my head off with his boxing skills.
Right.
And so I parry the first technique, and then I do an insert on the second technique, raking his eyes right into an elbow pivot point. So watch here.
Man, this is beautiful, man. Oof. And you broke it right there.
I just step over and apply a neck choke with an arm bar. Here he has a knife at my neck. Oh no, I'm sorry. He stabs. I give it back to him. I strip it. Then I take him down.
Wow. That's amazing. That's really good work.
Thank you, brother.
All right. Let's see this one.
Oh wow, man, you're going all the way back. Ooh, Lord. Wow. Oh, I'm my fiery days there, brother.
Yeah.
I just want to, for the audience to know, this is demonstration techniques. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is show. This was a national event, and so we just demonstrating. But I'm still, keeping the realness in there. You know what I mean?
Right.
Little show mixed in with some realness.
Right. So let me ask you this: when you really, the difference between show and the reality is because when you're really getting down to work, you're doing less movement because less is better.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right.
Absolutely.
Let me see, did I have any other thing? No, that was it. All right. So let me stop the sharing. I'm gonna get back to my questions. Stop the sharing, and I'm gonna run through the remaining part of your bio. Okay. So, all right. Voted Black Belt Hall of Fame's Instructor of the Year. Wow. Black Belt Hall of Fame. There's so many Black Belt. What is this? What was the Black Belt Hall of Fame? What Hall of Fame was this?
Yeah, this was the World Head Soldiership Council in Orlando, Florida. I believe, and I'm not sure, but they claim to be the oldest soldiership council, out there. It's I think Grandmaster Frank Sanchez is the head of it. And so my instructor nominated me for Instructor of the Year, and it's the whole typical thing. You gotta submit all your information to show what you've been doing, and then they either approve it or they don't approve it. And so I tell you what I like about them is they don't really just give you the award like I see now. A lot of these things is like people just say, "Oh, give them that name, have them fill the form out, come up and give them a plaque." You know what I mean? It was a little different here. You know what I mean? I had to submit my stuff, and I felt pretty good about it. I'm like, man, I said they really want to know what I've done. You know?
Hey, Grandmaster, not to cut you off, but I seen something. There was a master in Philadelphia. It was public, so I'm only repeating what he said. It was on Facebook. It was called the Philadelphia Martial Arts Society. He was one of the founders of it back in the 70s, and he publicly renounced. He took himself off of something that he founded with other founding members because he got sick and tired of so many people just getting these recognitions.
Yes, brother. It's a business now. See,
that blew my mind. I never would have think someone would think to do something like that, especially the fact that he founded it.
Yeah. But see, he's a true to heart martial artist, because at the end of the day, listen, I know times are changing. I get it, and I know we have to adapt and go with the times. But nowhere does it say that we have to compromise who we are as the initiated, as martial artists, as warriors, right? And so now when you start, it's almost like giving a child a participation award. You follow me? So now he gets a medal, he gets a medal, he gets a trophy, and he just standing there. So now you're sitting this child out on a false sense of security. And
they're like feel-good awards.
Feel-good awards. And so when I went down to get this award, I was new to it, so I didn't really know. So Jeff Speakman was there, the Perfect Weapon movie star guy, and all these other folks were there. I'm like, okay, everybody was in tuxedos. I'm like, great.
Yeah.
And so I probably came back 3 or 4 more times. And it was always consistent. You had to fill out stuff, but I wasn't getting awards anymore. I was now making sure my instructors got awards. So, because I don't need to go every year and they look on this list and say, okay, give them this one this time, and give them this one this time. So now you got a bunch of awards, that you paid for, basically.
It doesn't really mean anything.
It doesn't mean anything. It means something to the ego. And that's the thing, brother. We have these two sovereign leaders that govern our lives, right? We have the egoic mind, and then we have the spiritual mind.
Yeah.
And when you indulge in that egoic mind, it's always going to be about you, always about you. And martial arts, the minute you put on a black belt or the minute you actually engage in martial arts, it becomes a different ecology. It becomes about the environment. It becomes about people. You follow me? And it's not so much about you, right? How can you leave someone feeling a little better than what they were before they met you, right?
Yes, sir.
How can you impart something in a child? You follow me? What can you do or say to a child to raise that child's self-esteem or keep them on the right side of the track?
Yes, sir. So, Grandmaster, I'm going to go through the remaining part, and then I'm going to ask the last piece because we almost at 10, so I'm going to just kind of go through it. So, all right. Yes, so 1997 Certified Executive Protection Specialist, received master credentials in 1997 by the Nganga Tolona. Nganga, is that an African?
Yes, Swahili, Nganga Tolona. The late Nganga Tolona. He's passed now.
Wow.
Yeah.
2001 CDT Tactical Master Instructor, certified in Gracie Survival Tactics Law Enforcement, certified instructor for the Maryland Police Training Commission, featured in various news mediums, Channel 9 News, Fox 5 News, NBC4, W News 99.1 FM, Gazette, Prince George Journal, Afro-American, BET Heart and Soul, WHUR, World 96.3, WPFW Radio 89.3. Host of award-winning cable program titled The Self-Defense Forum, member of the Martial Arts International Association, MAIA, certified air marshal in the American Defense Program under the World Black Belt Organization. 2005, recipient of the Living Legend Award from Master Robert Everhart Martial Arts, co-founder of Elite Personal Safety Systems, developer of the Defender Keychain Weapon Curriculum. So keychains are pretty effective in the street.
Oh, no question. Yeah, no question.
Even
46
for
years
a
of
woman,
martial arts.
even for a woman.
Absolutely. No question. In fact, I have a sister that actually saved herself with the Defender. She took a seminar, a workshop, had it on a keychain, went out that night, violated what I asked her to do, which was actually not to do, which was go out after hours to go shopping. So she went out, guy came up from behind, grabbed her. She instinctively hit him with the keychain, dropped him, and just so happened the store manager just happened to be looking out the window at the time, came and held him down. When the police got there, they said that the man had his car running, meaning he had intended on taking her to another location. And so 46 years of martial arts, and I still carry one.
And it's called, so the Defender is so it's a special type of keychain called the Defender.
Well, it's actually the Kuntao.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the Kuntao, but we named it Defender because of our program.
Do you sell them? Because I can, I promote it for you on my website if you sell them.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we sell the Defender. We sell the DVD on how to use it. We have a course on it. Yeah.
Well, next year I'm gonna have a marketplace on my website, and you can upload all your products and just sell. It could just be another marketplace to sell your products.
Wow. Yes, sir. I appreciate that, brother.
No
yeah,
doubt.
and that bio, I was gonna just say that bio is kind of outdated, but it has most of it in there. But I also just want to mention that I'm the founder of Warriors Against Trafficking, and that's just something that I started during the pandemic. When we were shut down, I saw the need to form an organization of martial artists around the country to help raise awareness about trafficking, and to also be an extra eyes when they're out and about. Because let's look at it like this: if all of us just, whenever we're out and about, just take 5 minutes instead of starting the truck and leaving or getting out the truck. Take 5 minutes, just scan the lot. Watch your sister go in the car. Watch your sister come out of the store. You know what I mean? And so we're in 33 cities, and my brother Soge San is actually one of the first to jump on board to be a part of this, man. So it's a strong movement. It's kind of been off the scene because the mindset shifted when the virus came. Yeah. But we're still doing things. We have a website where women can go and get free resources. There's free training.
What is the website?
There. Yes,
what is the website?
WATnetwork.com, which is the acronym of Warriors Against Trafficking. So WATnetwork.com.
I got a question for you on that. I'm just going to read the remaining part of your bio. All right, 2006 induction to the Black Belt Hall of Fame under the World Head Soulship Council as the founder of Combat Kuntao, Filipino martial art, received a proclamation from Prince George's County, Maryland County Executive Jack Johnson for his commitment to the community via the martial arts. Trained at the Shicha High Sports School in Beijing, China. Wow, so you actually went to China?
Yeah. I spent that was 2007, 2008. Went to Beijing and trained at the Shanghai Sports School in the internal arts. So that's a heavy component.
Is that Qigong? When you say internal, you talking about Qigong?
Yes, sir. Qigong and meditation. So that's a component of our system, by the way. So I teach the students the aggressive part, but I also got to teach them the internal part so they can have that balance.
I had an injury to my knee, and I was in rehabilitation. And, I always heard about Qigong, but I never, but so my therapist was just giving me some ideas. So I said, you know what? So Qigong popped in my mind. This is the bottom line. So I went on YouTube, and clearly Qigong has like different sets and they're progressive. And I started doing the Qigong, and man, I would go back to my physical therapist, and he noticed massive improvements in my mobility and my flexibility.
Yes,
off
sir.
of Qigong.
Yes, sir.
So that's my Qigong story.
Brother, listen. Yeah. Qigong is the fountain of youth.
Yeah. It's the truth, man. It's the truth.
Brother, listen, man. And it's another show, but I'm gonna tell you.
Yeah.
If we could just get our people to spend a few minutes every day
Yeah.
just doing those simple movements in sync with their breath,
Right.
we would eradicate diabetes, high blood pressure, hypertension, stress. 80% of doctor visits is psychosomatic.
Right.
And if we could just get people to turn, see what happens when you turn inward, you you leave the noise, you tune out the noise.
Absolutely.
And so now you're tuning into yourself. And I'm not gonna go long because I know we gotta end this, but just know that the breath, brother, is the key. The breathing piece, because when you take your attention and you take it away from the noise and put it on your breath, at that moment you're having a spiritual moment, because our essence, our being is spiritual. And the breath is the conduit. And so that's why when they say we're not humans being having a spiritual experience, we're spiritual beings having a human experience, is because we're just spirit. This is just the house that's storing the spirit, but we're spirit. So when you turn your breath to your attention to spirit, now you're cultivating yourself on a totally different level. You're slowing down the aging process. You're slowing your heart rate down. You're opening your blood vessels so you get more blood flow. Your skin now isn't aging as fast because now more oxygen is to the brain. So I'll leave it there, brother. But I always get excited about that because it's a solution when it comes down to us as opposed to the pill. I hate to see us just every time the doctor said, oh, take this, take this, take this. We just go and just start piling up pills and the body sees it as poison.
You know, about 7 years ago, I had like this this nerve pain.
Yes, sir.
And it was coming down the left side of my body. It was coming down to and it would end at the tip of my fingers down to the bottom of my feet, right? So I went to all kind of doctors. They ran all kind of tests, nerve tests, neurological tests. So they were saying, well, it could maybe some type of neuropathy, whatever the case. So they wanted to give me a medicine, but they said, if we give you a medicine, one of the side effects is psychological. It can disturb your psyche, right? So I said, of course, I'm not dealing with that. So, but at the same time, I got tired of dealing with this for about 6 years, because imagine 6 years, you always feeling this tingling.
Oh yeah.
On the left side of your body, and it's very it's annoying. So I did some research. I found a Chinese doctor, and I'm in Atlanta now, and she was an acupuncturist. And luckily for me, not only was she an acupuncturist, she was also a neurologist. But she moved from Atlanta to Virginia, where you at. But man, I went to this woman. She did the little needles. This was in 2017. It never came back.
You know what I'm saying, brother?
And I tell people all the time, Western medicine is 230 years old. Chinese medicine is 5,000 years old.
5,000. Yet they call it modern.
All right, so let me continue. So you graduated Executive Protection Institute, Virginia, member of the 9 Lives Associates, CPR certified, defibrillator certified life coach, follow Wainwright International, founder of the Elite Training Group, law enforcement military training, 3-year contract training, Abu Dubai Police, recipient of the Pioneer Award, Simba Dojang, 2017 recipient of the Who's Who in the Martial Arts Award, 2017 featured in Who's Who in the Martial Arts book, certified speaker, trainer, and coach for the John Maxwell team. And audience, I read this and Grandmaster said it's still not up to date. So it's still more stuff.
Well, this is what I mean by not up to date. I'm an author of 6 different books, brother.
Name them, put them out there. Are they on Amazon?
Yeah, but I like them to get them from my website because Amazon don't do us.
Okay, shout them out. Promote them. Promote your book.
Yeah. So this is Fight Back Women's Personal Safety 101. My first book, by the way, packed with information as it relates to awareness and avoidance. All the information I learned from the predators while I was at the jail, I put it in here. The first part is about awareness and avoidance. Second part, you have the tactics. Next, I have my bully problem book. This is the ongoing issue. It's not going anywhere. And so I address bullying as it relates to our young folks. Then I have a life skill book, which I kind of did for the students here, but then folks started asking for it. So just giving some life lessons, some life skills, teaching kids, you know, the value of eye contact, handshakes, you know, being true to your word, those type of things. And then I have a book on point fighting. Again, I had 300 fights. I fought the late Nasty Anderson, all the big wigs. You know, I won a lot, lost a few, and had a good run. And so I put it all in a book. That's my son. That's on the front cover. He was a amazing champion in the point fighting game. And then the last one I just finished. This is a pocket-sized travel safety manual that I created for women, but actually for men too. But this is so powerful, brother, because we go on vacation, we go travel, we don't even think about what if, right? We go to Cancun not knowing that, okay, well, just yesterday, they had a bunch of gangs going in and raiding the resorts, right? So now you can go in, you can check and see where the most crime is at, where the most dangerous places are, what happens if you lose your passport, what cruise safety, travel safety, hotel safety, planning, pre-planning, all that's in here. I even have apps, 5 different apps that you could use to help keep yourself safe while you're traveling. This is December 11th is going to be my book signing. So I'm gonna do a Zoom for that. So thank you for that, for allowing me to kind of promote those, brother.
And like I said, next year, Doc Magazine coming out with a marketplace. You can put all those books up there. You can put your key, anything you got going on, just put in that marketplace. Doc Mag, we put a lot of money behind advertising, SEO. So eventually, the idea is that this platform will evolve from a podcast, online magazine to a marketplace where people can train with people like yourself, and they may find you through Doc Magazine, but then they may go off and go to your website. Who cares? The whole point of the platform is to raise awareness and to build our community as it relates to martial science.
Yes, sir.
Grandmaster, I just got some few points. I'm gonna, as I say these words, just give me briefly 5 seconds, 6 seconds, the philosophy behind it. So number 1, pressure points.
Say the part again. What you want me to do?
Okay, so I have about 6 minutes left. So I'm gonna name the different points. You know, these are just some further points about in your art. How does your art utilizes these different items that I'm going to name to you? So the first one is pressure points.
Got you. Okay. Yes, sir. So we use basically pressure points to either stun or incapacitate an attacker.
Okay, throws.
Throws, we don't really do what we call the body throws. We do, you know, more or less leg press, pivot point manipulation, structure disruption to take a person down.
Okay, break falls.
Break falls, we definitely teach break falls. That's break falls to keep a person from knocking themselves out when they fall down on the ground. Forward break fall, rear break fall, side break fall.
Chokes.
Chokes, we teach chokes to either put a person to sleep, which would be air choke, blood choke, or cut off the air to the windpipe, which is, of course, last resort.
Angle of attack.
Angle of attack, we use angle of attack to avoid an attack, but also stay close enough to counter.
Angle of defense.
Angle of defense, we use angle of defense to not only avoid the attack, but put ourselves in a position where they have their center line compromised and we can attack them, but it's difficult for them to attack us.
Takedowns.
We use a variety of takedowns. Like I said, we use, we call gyroscopic rotation takedowns. We have finger pressure takedowns, again, designed to get a person on the ground and get them under control.
Striking,
we use basic Filipino, basic boxing striking. We also use elbows and knees, headbutt, shoulders. Every part of our body is a weapon. So we consider our body a striking component.
Blocking,
we don't really do. We do parrying. Parrying is the difference between blocking and parrying. Blocking, you're trying to stop a movement. Parrying, we just basically redirect. Let me stand corrected for a second. When you see me do a structure disruption or I shut down something, that's an attack. That's not a block. And so I want to put that out for the audience because they may look and see that technique. So wait a minute, you just block. No, I attack the bicep.
Transitions.
Transition is what I talked about when we go from different stages of engagement. And so we transition from either weapon or from kicking to punching. So the kicks will set up the punches. The punches will set up the elbows and knees. The elbows and knees will set up the grappling. So that's our transition.
Anatomy striking.
Anatomy striking is kind of the same as the pressure points. We're attacking the weaker structure of the body.
Simultaneous striking.
Simultaneous striking is when you're actually doing a simultaneous parry and strike at the same time. So when you have traditional 1-2 and simultaneous, you're parrying and you're hitting at the same time, you're parrying, you're striking at the same time.
Breaking, hyperextending.
Breaking, hyperextension. A lot of times we use hyperextension on the elbow. When the person throws a punch, we parry and we kind of tap it just enough to kind of hyperextend the joint to make it immovable.
Weapons.
Weapon use, we're not only do we use weapons, we actually disarm weapons. And so weapon use, we start out, we teach firearm, we teach knife, we teach their kubaton, we call the defender, and we teach stick, and we teach the karambit.
Timing and flow.
Say it again.
Timing and flow.
Oh yeah, yes sir. Timing and flow. Timing is everything. You know, it doesn't matter what kind of weapons you have if you strike at the wrong time. And so it's critical that you learn how to read a person's energy, read a person's body language, so you can, when you throw that punch, you throw it right at the right time. The best way to take a person out is while they're striking at you.
Man,
Yeah.
That's another interview. We should have talked about that from the beginning. Man,
Yes,
that's powerful.
Sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Entry and exit.
Entry is our setup. Entry is what we use to clear and follow up. And so the entry is where we strike a primary target to allow us to come in and do our follow-ups. And so without entries, then you're basically just fighting like two chickens going back and forth. You ever see two guys fight? You go,
Right.
I go.
Right.
Yeah.
Grandmaster, if you ever do a podcast on entries and exits and timing and flow. Man, there's so much to talk about with that. Boxing.
Yes. Boxing is an integral part of our system because in the US, this is the reference point on the street. And so we use boxing to mask our nuclear arsenal.
Footwork.
Footwork is critical. Footwork is everything. If you have a tank that can fire a missile at 500 yards and you're 501 yards, there's no threat.
No threat. You board certified. Board certified. Only a board certified person talks like this. Kicking
is essential, but we don't kick above the waist. The idea with kicking, one, you could use it to distract the person or break its structure so you can come in and do your follow-up. Two, shut the legs down completely so they can't attack you.
And finally, locks. Locks are used to gain compliance, right? If we don't want to strike or you're in a scenario where you can't, attack a person with your elbows and knees, or they didn't do enough legally for you to do that, then you can subdue them by using a joint lock technique. Grandmaster, I want to thank you. Before I ask you my final question, this is Doc Magazine. This is our 10th year anniversary. This was started 10 years ago, 2011. We also have Doc Radio. Soki Hassan has his show on there on Fridays. Final question. Dr. Moses Powell, what impression did his legacy leave on you? That's first question. Second question is Sanukashu Jiu-Jitsu. What is your impression of that art, of his art?
Yeah, let me first say this, brother. Whenever I think of Dr. Moses Powell, I think of brilliance. and I mean that from my heart. He was brilliant, you know, as it relates to understanding fighting, understanding the art, understanding the weaknesses of the body, you name it. He said something years ago that stuck with me and really kept me on track as it relates to learning reality self-defense. And that is, he said, yes, all of that looks good, but can you fight?
Mm.
And that stayed on my mind, because at the end of the day, look, I'm not an entertainer. We're not entertainers. We do the demonstration for the sake of demonstration, but at the end of the day, if someone comes to harm us, we have a natural right, God-given right to defend ourselves, right? And so what Doc taught me, always keep your art realistic. All the other stuff is fine, but when it comes down to it, and you out there at night, and that person got that knife at your throat or that gun in your face, that's where your martial arts is going to show. It's not going to show when you're in front of your students, you're in the mirror, or you're on the bags. It's not going to show it. It's going to show when they're in your face. That's why I train the way I train, where I want the person punching at me at full speed. So that's that piece. In terms of Sanuka's rule, listen, all I can say, in my opinion, brother, they're some of the baddest brothers on the planet. And I say that humbly. I know a lot of them. I'm in their circles. I feel like I'm a Sanuka's member. You know, you have.
Hey, let me tell you something. If you on Doc Magazine, you're a Sanuka's member, man. You are our brother. You and our family. Us.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Thank you, brother.
Heart to heart. You and our family, man. It's official.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, man. I'll tell you what. When I go to the seminars, and you know, take it or leave it, I tell people, when I go to the seminars and I see brothers doing Sanukas, I'm at the front row. I'm at the front row, because that's combat in motion. That's reality self-defense in motion, in real time. And so I look at the principles of the movements they're doing, and I'm gonna tell you who breaks this thing down to an absolute science. And I knew we're only separated by 6 degrees. So I knew at some point me and Soki Hassan would connect. That brother, in my opinion, is the epitome of Sanuka's rule, because not only does he have a physical ability or skill set that's off the chart, he has a psychological understanding, as well as an understanding of the anatomy and how the body functions. You follow me? That's complete. That's what we call a complete art. And so, you know, you have Grandmaster Anthony Muhammad as well, who's just a scientist. You have all, I don't want to start naming people because I'll be here all night naming all the scientists. But brother, I have nothing but respect for them. They're my brothers. When I'm in their house and I'm under their sign, I submit to their teachings. When they come to my place, you know what I mean? It's the same thing. So we just respect each other, man, and know that what we're doing is serving the people and not giving them a bunch of stuff to get themselves killed.
No doubt, brother. Like I said, man, you're in our family. You know, if I was driving by and you needed me, I'm 5 seconds away. So
yes, sir, bro.
I want to thank you so much for taking time out to give me this interview. I'm honored, and that's from my heart. And you know, if anything you want to say, any websites, any numbers you want to get out, and we'll just end it like that. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, first and foremost, brother, thank you for having me on your show. It's definitely an honor and a privilege to meet you, put a face to the name. I love what you're doing, brother, you know, in terms of helping get us out there, because we're just the workers. We just do the work. And I appreciate you taking your knowledge, your skill set, and broadcasting it around the world. So definitely appreciate you. I can be reached on Facebook. You know what I mean? I think it's Coach Samuel Scott. Always ask people to kind of chime in, see what I'm doing. Also, YouTube. On YouTube is mastersamuelscott.com. I mean, Master Samuel Scott on YouTube. So, you know, that's really it. Always welcome here. That's the other thing, brother. You come to DC, I'm gonna take offense if you don't come see your brother. I will, no doubt.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna end in classic Sanukish rule. We say, like I'll say eye to eye, you say heart to heart, and that's it. So eye to eye,
Heart to heart, brother.
us.
Us.